Recently, in a live chat, the topic of self-defense insurance came up again, and people asked me, do I still think it's a good idea? Do I still have the original insurance that I did a video about previously? And how do you go about choosing the insurance that's right for you? Well, since I just got my renewal pack for USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association, which is the insurance I did a video about before, I thought this would be a perfect time to answer those three questions. Do I still think people should have self-defense insurance? Well, of course I do. I've never understood why people will spend so much money and go to so much effort to make sure they have the tools to defend themselves, but they won't spend a little money to make sure they're protected for what happens after they defend themselves. And what happens after you defend yourself can sometimes be just as bad, if not worse, than the attack itself. You can be taken to court, charged with a crime, have to pay lots of legal fees. In some states, you can even be found civilly liable, even if you're criminally innocent. So if you live in one of those states, you definitely want to have insurance. But even if you live in a state where you're civilly protected as long as you are innocent of a crime, you still want to have insurance to pay those legal fees. Because those legal fees can be stifling. They can be amazingly expensive. So have insurance to cover those fees. And it's not just your legal fees, it's bail money. What if you get arrested and you have to bail yourself out? You might need $5,000, $10,000 to do that. So it's nice to have the insurance that covers your bail. And most of these insurances will cover your bail as well as your legal fees for your criminal defense, your legal fees for your civil defense, and any civil liability that you might have after the shooting. The second question, of course, do I still have the same insurance that I had before, which is the USCCA? Yep, it's what I still have. In fact, I got this little packet from them today. They sent me a couple little things here. They sent me a membership card, which is a nice little card here. Now, the front of the card has your membership number, your name, etc. on it, and the back of the card has the number you actually call if you have to defend yourself. It also has a few things on there that you might say to the police officers when they show up, and let's face it, they are going to show up. It's basically just, I was in fear for my life, I had to defend myself, etc. And then basically says, I will cooperate 100%, but I'm not saying anything further until I talk to my attorney. Now, I know a lot of people will say, don't say anything to the police when they show up. Well, they're going to show up and you're going to have to say something. If you just say, I'm not talking, well, you're going to go to jail and you're going to get arrested and you're probably going to get charged with a crime because you didn't defend yourself at all. Even if you just say, I will cooperate 100% as soon as I speak to an attorney, I did nothing wrong, at least you've said something. But, you don't want to volunteer any information, you don't want to answer any questions, etc. But you are going to have to say something. And this little card is a good guideline for what things you can say. Because, worse than saying nothing is saying the wrong thing. So this might help you a little bit there. And there was also a little membership brochure that has a lot of the information you need on how to use your insurance, etc. And they even sent me a little challenge coin. It's kind of a cool little challenge coin. I actually like the back side better. The back of the coin actually has a little eagle's head there, and it has the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I actually think this would look good set in the stock of a rifle. I'm actually thinking about getting a wood stock and setting this in it. And another thing you get with USCCA is you get a monthly magazine. It's kind of a nice little magazine. It's a high-class magazine, lots of nice articles in it. It's pretty much an advertisement, but most magazines are. So it's actually kind of a little bit of an enjoyable bathroom read, which is where these always go when I get them. Well, one thing I want to say up front before I really go into the insurances, a lot of people will say, well, they're worthless because they only cover you if you're criminally innocent. Well, all insurance will only cover you if you're criminally innocent. It is illegal to insure you against a criminal act. So you can't have insurance that'll cover you if you're criminally guilty. That's what this insurance is for. It's if you get charged, but then you're found guilty. Those bills don't go away. You still got to pay them. And that bail doesn't go away when you first get arrested. You still got to pay that. These things cover stuff like that. And let's face it, if you're found guilty, the last of your problems is how much you owe your attorney. You're going to have other problems, if you know what I mean, while you're in jail. The insurance is really important when you're found innocent and you got to pay those legal bills, or when you get dragged into civil court and you end up owing a civil judgment. Now, as far as choosing what insurance is best for you, the first thing you need to do is sit down and decide what do you want from your insurance. And you also have to know that some of the companies are different. Some of the companies are more like clubs. You pay a membership and you're part of this club, and if you ever get in trouble, they'll come help you. They'll be part of your defense team. And they do give you a small stipend up front, like $5,000 or $10,000 to go towards either bail or a lawyer's retainer, but that stipend is arbitrary and you might have to pay it back. Now, a lot of people argue in favor of this group because they say, hey, there's some big names involved in it, and if you ever go to trial, they will come and defend you. These big names will be part of your defense team. Well, that might mean something to me or you or someone that knows these people, but will it mean anything to a middle-aged housewife or a retiree that's sitting on a jury? For example, Jerry Miculek means something to most people in the gun community. And tomorrow, if he showed up and said, "This is the way you hold your revolver now," well, the next day you'd be seeing people on YouTube holding their revolver like that, and you'd see people trolling people that didn't hold their revolver like that. But if Jerry Miculek showed up to a bunch of people that didn't know who he was and said, "Hey, this is the new way to hold a revolver," they'd be like, "Did you get dropped on your head or what?" It's the information that would matter to them because they don't know who he is. So that's an example of sometimes something can mean something to some people, but not mean anything to someone else. And when you do find an insurance company that's actually an insurance, like USCCA or Second Call or ones like that, you just start looking at what they cover and see which one suits you better. Most of these will pay a certain amount of money up front for your bail, for a lawyer's retainer, for your criminal defense, for your civil defense. They'll pay a certain amount in civil liability, etc. But you just need to pay attention to what each one pays because they all have different limits. For example, USCCA pays up to $1 million in civil liability. If you are found civilly liable but criminally innocent, they will pay up to $1 million. But they only cover up to $10,000 of bail, whereas Second Call pays up to $25,000 in bail, but they only cover $250,000 in civil liability. To me, the civil liability coverage was more important, so I choose USCCA. So you just have to look at the total coverage, do the math, and decide which categories are better for you. Which ones are more important to you? Which ones do you want to make sure you have the most coverage in, and go with the one that provides you the most coverage in what you think is important. Another thing you might want to consider is, do they have a good support system? Do they have a call-in where you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Do they have legal aids on staff to help you if you're in a bad situation? Most of them do, but you might want to check and make sure they do. So in the end, yes, I do still think you should have self-defense insurance. I think it's almost a necessity if you're going to carry a gun. And as long as you take the time to decide what insurance is best for you, which one is actually insurance, which one's actually going to cover the things you think it's going to cover, I think you'll be fine. So if you're going to carry a gun, don't let your preparedness end when you pull that trigger. Don't just be prepared to defend your life, be prepared to defend everything you have for the financial hardships that are likely to come after. You ain't even my real dad.